What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Cases and cases of confidence.
Staples can help give you the confidence that your business is ready for the year ahead with all the supplies you need.
Like paper. And right now, when you buy a 10-ream case of Staples multipurpose paper, you get one free.
So you can be confident you're ready for whatever business comes your way.
Buy one case of Staples multipurpose paper, get one free. Now at Staples, where there's a whole lot in store.
In store only, limit 10, valid through 1/5/19.
A man who leads a life of danger to everyone he meets.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast, episode 203, I think. So right at the end of the year, getting you ready for your new year. Tonight, as always, we're tying this thing in with an upcoming or recently released movie. But to tell you all about that, the man, the myth, the legend, the patriarch of the Radulich in Broadcasting Network, Mark Radulich. Mark Radulich first. What book are we doing tonight, and why are we doing the book?
Hi, Jesse.
Haven't podcasted with you for a while. Apparently, I'm out of practice.
Yep, we take 1 week off, and it all goes to hell. We are doing the Bumblebee comic prequel, the 4-issue series where Bumblebee is a spy in England or some such thing. We're doing that because it is the prequel to the Bumblebee solo movie, a kind of soft reboot of the entire Transformers franchise, where the Transformers actually look like their toy counterparts or their cartoon counterparts.
Hooray!
Yes, hooray.
That's all we ever wanted. That's all we ever wanted in the beginning. You wanted to do this prequel, which I don't know if we've actually done, if we've done any direct-to-movie tie-ins before on the show. I don't think we have. This is like, we've never done a prequel, or I know we've done properties that have been in the movies, but I don't think we've ever done a prequel comic to the movie that was coming out. You know, this is not anything new. Comics have been doing this for a while. And all right, so creative team. I'm not really going to jump in too much to what these guys have done. If you know these guys, great. If not, look them up. They're written by John Barber and art by Andrew Griffith. Both names are not ones that I know of. Who is Bumblebee, Mark Radulich? I mean, who's Bumblebee to you? When you started watching Transformers, me and you watched the movie, the animated movie from 1980, 1986, 85?
Sure.
87. Sure. I mean, can you kind of give everybody an idea of who Bumblebee is, or at least your conception of who Bumblebee is?
Bumblebee was that bridge from, the humans to the Transformers. He was the most relatable. I mean, Optimus Prime was the leader. He was, the Abraham Lincoln, the George Washington of the Transformers. He was the big bad superhero. But Bumblebee was smaller in stature. I mean, the actual toy was one of the smaller ones. Okay, so there were basically two iterations of the original Transformers series. There was these, let's call them like $1.99 versions. So you had Bumblebee and Cliffjumper, which were both Volkswagen Bugs. One was red, one was yellow, and you just you flip the hood. Those were the feet. You pull the arms out from underneath, and then there was a little flap where the head was. That was it. That was all there was to it. Then there was Brawn, which was like a little Jeep. And again, it was flip the hood, flip the arms, flip the head. There he is. There was a few more that were like that. I don't necessarily remember all their names, but those were the big ones. Brawn certainly had a big part in the cartoon. Cliffjumper, and Bumblebee was like that bridge between the humans and the Transformers.
Yeah, he was always running around with the kid. I can't remember the kid's name. But,
exactly. So he was your character to sort of take, get the audience used to the idea of giant talking robots. He was your relatable Transformer, because not all of them were particularly happy to be on Earth, and they all had like disparate personalities and whatever. He was like the nice, relatable, safe one.
Okay.
So over the years, I think, and then even in the movies, they made him the bridge between the audience and this Michael Bay Transformers world that they were creating. They focused a lot of it on him and Optimus Prime, and then a bunch of nameless, faceless robots that nobody can remember.
All right, well, let's get into the synopsis of this book here. So this is the Bumblebee prequel. Now, when we say prequel, ladies and gentlemen, picture this. Britain in the mid-1960s. in the midst of the Cold War. We find Agent Omega Zero, David Reeve, and Agent Diana Lux attempting to make sense of a recent assassination of a spy agency figurehead. There's also a big frame deal, and I'm sure there's a setting up the CIA by the FBI and all that kind of a joke here as well. Because my gosh, is it all over the place. But yes, helping him is codename Gold Wheels. I think it's Gold Wheels or Golden Wheels, one or the other. Or as we all know him, the Autobot Bumblebee. Investigating further, it is revealed that Decepticons are involved and are escalating tensions to try to start a war between the East and the West, may also be plotting to take over the planet. With more twists, turns, and danger at every corner like a back alley in London, Bumblebee and his European friends have got to try to make it out alive. So let's get this out of the way first, Mark Radlich. This thing screams Ian Fleming?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. James Bond, right? Is that not like all over these books?
Yeah, no, it's definitely felt like the typical spy James Bond. I mean, I think they were definitely going for that feel. They were going out of their way to create to essentially put Bumblebee in the middle of a James Bond film.
Yeah. You look at the titles of these stories, like the first one, the man with the golden car, and then the next one, the living headlights. So all of these are homages to James Bond.
From Cybertron with Love.
Yeah, Energon is forever. So
gee, Jesse, I just don't know what they're what they're parodying here.
No kidding. Which just felt odd to me. I've got to ask you, because I know you've seen the movie. Does this have anything to do with what you're going to see on screen for the Bumblebee movie? Like, I'm not
even sure it really adds up, because now, granted, I was a little tired when I watched the Bumblebee movie, so the first like 20 minutes of it's a little sketch to me. From what I gathered from the Wikipedia page and what I was able to recall with my own eyes, Bumblebee goes to Earth because the Autobots are being like driven off Cybertron, and it's basically, if they don't leave Cybertron, the Decepticons are going to decimate them. So they go to Earth to establish a base from which they can retaliate. And so Optimus Prime sends Bumblebee off first. The implication from the last night is that Transformers have been on this Earth forever. They've been here from, the Dinobots obviously were around during the dinosaur age, and there's always been a Transformer somewhere, most likely an Autobot, dealing with some degree of humanity. There was Transformers in King Arthur's court, for example. That was the whole thing with the last night. That, and then with the Bumblebee sequel, the impression that I get is that there's this Autobot resistance being led by Optimus Prime, and they want to establish a new base on Earth, as I said, to retaliate from. They send Bumblebee out ahead of everybody, and they say, go down there, get the lay of the land, we'll follow. We'll catch up with you. And of course, the Decepticons track him to Earth and try to make that, stop that from happening. That being said, I don't recall there being anything about like Bumblebee like being on Earth or having gone from Cybertron to Earth back and forth through different periods of time.
Oh, okay.
Though again, the implication from the last night is that he has.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, I get the feeling that this Bumblebee movie doesn't necessarily relate to the Michael Bay timeline. Like, this comic makes more sense in the Michael Bay timeline than the Bumblebee movie does.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is taking place back in the 60s. Bumblebee is this agent helping out another British agent.
Right. And that all adds up from what we learned in the last night.
Yeah. So what do you think of the representation here of Bumblebee in this comic?
I mean, in the cartoon, he was more soft-hearted. He was involved in the war because the war came to his front door, not because he wasn't like Ironhide, who was always looking for a fight.
Oh yeah. Or Cup, that grizzled veteran.
Yeah, nobody likes Cup though. You hear me, Ronnie Adams? Everyone's least favorite fucking Autobot.
He's gonna hate the fact he wasn't on this podcast now.
Should have been on here to defend himself. He gets described in the Michael Bay series, and then even in this one, if that's still consistent, he's a soldier. Mm-hmm. Like there's a thing between him and John Cena at the very end of the movie where John Cena actually refers to him as soldier. I think Optimus Prime says, Bumblebee's a soldier in the first Michael Bay Transformers movie. And so I guess that's consistent here in the comic book, where he's, you need a guy who veteran of firefights and whatnot to help you out with whatever you're, but that's the thing. Like, there are so many other better Transformers for that kind of role. You had Transformers that their specialty was like espionage. You had, I think there was one Transformer that was like specifically a double agent. Whereas Bumblebee was just a soldier. He was a hard-shelled, grizzled, gun-shooting soldier boy. Mm-hmm. So that's fine.
Okay. Well, let's talk about our two agents here. David Reeve, Agent Omega Zero.
And Nagy McNaggerson.
So Diana Lux, as she's known in the book,
and his cohort Nagy McBitchstein.
So David Reeve, let's focus on him first. First off, okay, you can stereotype Diana all you want, but this guy, okay, he is a goofball. I mean, there are times in this book where it just seemed like he wasn't over the top goofy, but he definitely did not seem like the special agent James Bond type, in my opinion. Yeah, he had all the gadgets, but we got this guy sitting here reciting to us the three or four laws of espionage. I don't know. What do you think of this David Reeve?
I feel like the people that wrote him really don't understand James Bond as a character. They wrote him as what they think James Bond is, but they really didn't capture the heart of James Bond. So he comes across like, a Zucker Brothers parody of a James Bond character.
Yes.
He comes across as Leslie Nielsen doing James Bond.
Yes. There you go. That's exactly right. I mean, it wasn't like it was slapstick fall over goofiness, but it was just, the thing is his wit. It was like you wanted this guy to shut up. Every time he had something to say, it seemed like. And it's just like, man, just be quiet. Of course, then that sets in motion Diana Lux. Because whatever he had to say, well, she had something just right in her pocket to shut his ass down.
So she was kind of like Scully from the X-Files, where she's just a doubting Thomas. Like there could be aliens coming down from the sky and ghosts and, just everything. And she's like, I don't believe it. I don't trust what's happening here. She's just dour. She's like if Adrian was a super spy from the Rocky movies. Adrian, right? Oh, Adrian Balboa. Mm-hmm. Rocky, you'll never win. I'm just going to the bathroom. Rocky, you'll never win. I'm just eating a sandwich. She just chases him around the house saying, Rocky, you can't do it. She's
Rocky,
the worst.
you're going to die.
You're going to die, Rock. I'm just wiping my ass. She was like, if Adrian Balboa was a spy, this is what she would be like. She's awful. After a while, I just started skipping whatever sections of the book she was in.
I want to read to you a little exchange here, in issue 4. Probably get a good idea of the relationship between David Reeve and Diana Lux here, okay? So David starts out, come off it. I've known you for years. She says, you think I have a secret plan? I think you might. You certainly wouldn't share your secrets with a man like me. Don't sell yourself short, Reeve. It's not merely secrets. I wouldn't think to share anything with you. Ooh, zinger. She's always like shutting his ass down, like left and right throughout this book. Like she's this secret agent sex symbol. She's got to be hard-nosed and you can't woo her in any way, which is fine. I understand that. I guess what they're trying to do. Because
women in like combat or espionage positions are not sexual beings. They're mostly robots. You can't even call them lesbians because that would assume that they like women. They don't, as we all know, if you give a woman a gun, she stops having sexual feelings. She stops liking genders of any kind.
Okay. What I think they were going for here, and it was a little bit ham-fisted, was to throw the James Bond stereotype, the stereotypical woman under the bus and say, no, that's not what we're going for here. This girl is not going to be in bed with this guy at the end of this.
I don't know if you're picking it up from me, but I think they overdid it.
Just a little bit, sir. Just a tiny bit.
But here's what gets me. It's like, have you, I mean, there are plenty of women that James Bond hasn't stuck his dick in their ass. There's plenty of women who worked alongside of him and didn't end up in bed. And they weren't like non-sexual beings. They just weren't, didn't want any part of James Bond's penis. This isn't necessary for her to be this rigid.
Agreed. It was
James Bond's penis.
So they shoehorn these two guys in here, which is fine. I mean, they got to tell a story. let's talk some villains, all right? Because Bumblebee is, for all intents and purposes in this book, the only Autobot that shows up, okay? We do have a double agent, Diabla, which we'll talk about her in a second. But let's talk about one of the guys I'd never heard of. I didn't even know he existed. A Decepticon by the name of Dead End. Okay.
Yeah, look. The only Decepticon that I recognized in this entire book was Blitzwing and
Blitzwing?
Astro Train.
Okay.
Who are both triple changers. Blitzwing, if I remember correctly, is the one that is a tank and a jet. And then you have Astro Train. Jettison some weight, or we'll never make it to Cybertron. Is the one that's a space shuttle and a train.
Yep.
And everybody else, I'm like, they just fucking made up out of whole cloth.
Dead End. This guy, I mean, he just seemed like a thug throwaway kind of where he kept using his name in the sentence, which was pretty funny. You guys have met your dead end. Everybody, the characters be like, you gotta use your name. You gotta use your name in a sentence. I mean, really? Do you really have to? So let's look at this real quick. We got Dead End Generation 1 Transformer. So Dead End along with Dead End along with the other Stunticons was given life by Vector Sigma in an attempt by Megatron to form a ground-based unit. Seeing little choice in the matter.
Everything you said sounds very nerdy.
Dead End decided to do what Megatron said. The Decepticons returned to Earth with the newly awakened Stunticons, who began wreaking havoc. So he's been around for a while. If he's Generation 1 cartoon continuity. So yeah, he's been in a few of the cartoons that we've watched back in the day. But so anyway, Dead End, yeah, he just seems like a thug, and like I said, they give him a hard time. I mean, he uses his name in a sentence at least 4 times in the book. So then we have Diablo. Now let's talk about Diablo. Have you heard of this lady? You said is this another Decepticon you had no idea about?
No clue.
Okay. Well, we clearly see that this was the big love interest / double agent. There was a relationship definitely in the past between these two. We find out there's a history between Bumblebee and Diablo. Diablo, though, is a Decepticon. According to her Transformers Prime entry here on the wiki, it says, when it comes to Decepticons, there's Vindictive and then there's Diablo. Small and unassuming at first glance, unsuspecting Autobots facing her will find that her deep-seated hatred comes in many forms. Throughout the book, Bumblebee is trying to get her to come back over to the side of good, or she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. But what do you think of this character? Anything you'd like to say about Diablo?
Once again, did the CIA know that the FBI was being set up by Diablo?
Double agents. Next up, Sharkticons. Was this a pleasant surprise for you?
Well, that's a weird one, because in Transform, at least as far as I knew, the only people that had control over the Transformers, over the Sharkticons, were the Quintessons. That's who they are.
Yep.
So the Quintessons, their armies, their enforcers were the Sharkticons, otherwise known as the Piranha People from the Trench. And no, nothing. All right.
Oh, hey, Aquaman throwing it back there. I got you.
Yeah, thanks for picking that up.
Sorry, I'm sitting here reading. I'm reading about the Sharkticons while you're talking. But yeah, go ahead.
So the Sharkticons like to engage in Roman-esque orgies.
I am listening. I am listening to, sir. I haven't completely checked out.
I'll teach you to not pay attention to me. Okay. So I was a little surprised to see them here, because I'm like, well, I would like to know more now of where did these Sharkticons come from if they're not all just the henchmen of the Quintessons who had no part of this book.
Well, here you go, pouring continuity into what really screams James Bond parody. I mean, the whole reason for that is that they have Bumblebee and the agents trapped in this place, and the drawbridge starts to recede, and here they are getting ready to fall into a big vat. Yes, you guessed it. James Bond villain time of sharks with laser beams stuck to their head.
Laser beams!
Or that's Austin Powers, if I remember correctly. So
sharks with lasers on their freaking heads.
It's just, I mean, I think the Sharkticons are just a method to get that joke across. or that reference across. Again, they were shoehorning Bond references in this thing left and right. Oil slicks coming out of the cars, the cars with all sorts of weapons. And so the Sharkticons, it was neat to see them show up, number one, and be used in the way they were. But then again, you called this a soft reboot, this movie. I think we throw, like G1 continuity out of the window.
Okay.
That's just, I guess, my explanation. So Astro Train, you said you recognized Astro Train. I mean, I didn't even recognize the guy until his name was called out. How many panels did he show up in, other than the one where he's like, hey, turn us to the space shuttle and get out of here, or something like that? Was there other panels, other pages? Okay, all right. So I'm right. Me and you were on the same. So you have no commentary on Astro Train?
Nope. Just
okay.
At least he was one I recognized.
Malignus?
The one who looked like Johnny Five, what if Johnny Five was a hobo?
Yes. Is this somebody that showed up at all in continuity, G1 continuity, that you're aware of?
No, he kind of looks like The Fallen, which was a terrible movie.
I don't even see anything in here there's Malignus G1 continuity, and it's very tiny. Malignus is the name of a faction of Cybertronians. In most realities, they've been a revolutionary faction, though exactly who and what they are rebelling against depends. Okay, so I have no idea. But anyway, Malignus, ladies and gentlemen, is the person that's behind it all. He's the guy that's orchestrating the Decepticons to go and take out these espionage leaders, or these spy heads, whatever they're calling them. There's your Dr. Evil. It's Malignus. All right, Blitzwing. Let's talk about Blitzwing here. At the end of this book, there's a rocket that's set to go off. The rocket goes off into the air. Attached to the rocket is Diabla. Diabla is hanging on for dear life onto this ballistic missile. Something happens to where it gets it turns around. Blitzwing gets involved, believing her a traitor, tries to kill her. The rocket comes back down to Earth and explodes. So there's hope that Diabla is still alive. She may possibly be dead, but either way, Bumblebee blames Blitzwing for her potential death / disappearance. And I got the sense at the very end of this book, after the day is saved, they take like a page to kind of show Bumblebee trying to track down Blitzwing for it seemed like an extended period of time, because every time he would show up, or they would show a panel, and he's standing beside this house that's wrecked, and he's just yelling Blitzwing. And then there's another panel where there's more destruction. He's aiming his gun, and he's got Blitzwing in his sights, and he's saying Blitzwing. So it's like he's trying to track Blitzwing down. And then finally, at the end, got his sword out. What does he say here? Because he's got Blitzwing standing there. Yeah, here we go. A friend of mine once said I wasn't much of a spy because I always looked straight ahead and never considered alternatives. Turns out Diablo was right. I owe you, Blitzwing, and I'm here to pay my debt. And that's where they end. This fight's getting ready to happen between Bumblebee and Blitzwing. Does this lead into the movie? If this is supposed to be a prequel, I felt like all the rest of this was fluff, getting right up to the very end.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Blitzwing is the one that tracks him to Earth when he first gets there, back in the 80s.
Okay.
B-127 reaches Earth alone in 1987, crash landing in California and disrupting a training exercise being conducted by John Cena, driving B-127 into the forest, where he is then ambushed by the Decepticon Blitzwing. When B-127 refuses to reveal Optimus Prime's whereabouts, Blitzwing spitefully tears out his voice box and damages his memory core. Despite this, B-127 manages to kill Blitzwing before collapsing from his wounds. Before entering stasis, B-127 scans and transforms into a nearby 1967 Volkswagen Beetle.
Okay. He shows up for a second and then gets killed?
Yeah.
Okay. So I assume this is at the beginning of the movie then.
Yep.
Well, okay. I thought there would be like this continued rivalry throughout the film or something between these two.
They did for 5 minutes.
Wonderful. I wonder if this like picks up like right where it leaves off then.
No, because this is in the 60s and...
Well, I know, like I said, at the end, it seemed like it just kind of went through different periods of time. As the panels continued, it just seemed like, okay, he tries to get him, and then he runs into him again, and then he runs into him again. And then finally, at the end, he's tracked him down. So I thought time had passed. I didn't know how much. It doesn't say anything about the time, like 20 years later or anything like that. But all right, well, let's talk about overall thoughts, and we'll get into plugs and get out of here.
I mean, it was fine. I didn't know what to expect with this prequel comic, but I wanted to do... we were originally going to do the Bumblebee IDW series from a few years ago that focused on him. But when I saw that there was this prequel comic and it was going to be done by the time we got to the movie, I was like, okay, well, let's give that a look, and we did, and it was fine. If you're into kind of James Bond and then making fun of James Bond, it's a fun comic to read. Otherwise, it was just kind of meh.
How many is it acronyms?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
I didn't care. I was like, he's part of Eidolon. And then it would have like 12 letters. You got to figure out what the actual name of this thing is. And I'm like, what? I don't care.
But that's the thing. Like, if you're not into like James Bond, like to somebody else that's really into that sort of thing, that's mad funny, and we probably kept up with it. Like I go to see the movies, but I'm not the hugest James Bond fan.
Yeah, same here. I mean, there were times as I went through this book, I didn't know whether to take it seriously or if it was, just a mixture of action and funny, which I think that's probably what they were getting at. Some of the funny stuff that they were trying to do kind of took me out of the book. I was just like, okay, well, this guy's, I can't take this guy seriously. And then we have Transformers flying around and I don't know. I mean, for a prequel, I think the biggest part for me was I was all excited about, I'm excited to find out what happens before the movie. I can't wait. And then, like a lot of times, sometimes that stuff doesn't tie in so well. Doesn't sound like this one does.
Yeah, I don't think they knew what the movie was going to be. Whoever commissioned this comic, I think they're like, oh, there's a Bumblebee movie coming out. It takes place in the 80s. Cool. We'll do a show. We'll do a book that takes place in the 60s, and we'll call it a movie prequel. What if, I don't know if they had anything to do with each other.
What if they got the wrong script? They're like,
they got like an early draft.
Yeah, they got like the early draft. Things changed, ladies and gentlemen. This book's been done for a year, and then it turns around and we've done some extensive script work. Well, this fucking comic's going out no matter what. Sorry. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get on out of here. That brings our coverage of the Transformers Bumblebee Movie Prequel to a close. Let's get into plugs. Mark Radulich, what do we got coming up on the Radulich in Broadcasting Network?
Well, tomorrow it's a New Year's Day, and myself, David Wright, and Robert Winfrey will be reviewing the Bumblebee movie. I'll try to remember what I saw, what I was awake for. And then myself and Jesse Starcher will be capping off a year of Metal Delight with the Metal Hammer of Doom. We'll be doing our year-end special. And on January 3rd, Alexis Hana will be reviewing the new She-Ra show with me. So I'm a couple episodes in. It's pretty good so far. So I'll finish watching that and we'll review it next Thursday, because it's Thursday on Thursday. Get it? Get it, Dick?
Yeah,
get it, Dick? Anywho, January 8th, we're going to do a commentary. Are you in on this? Are you going to do it with us?
Well,
commentary for Judgment Night.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm absolutely in.
So I think it's going to be you, it's going to be Ronnie, and I think Pat's going to join us for a commentary over one of the greatest films of the 90s, Judgment Night, starring Emilio Estevez and Mr. Show Me the Money, Cuba Gooding Jr., and, of course, the ever-great Dennis Leary. And then we'll follow that up, because it's Judgment Night week, all week long. The Metal Hammer of Doom will review we're waiting for some albums to come out. It'll be early January, so not a whole lot will have come out. So instead, we're going to take that opportunity to review the Judgment Night soundtrack. And then finally, myself and Sean Comer will do the first On Trial of the year, January 10th. We will do an On Trial for, as the aforementioned, Judgment Night. Alexis Hana, presumably Ronnie Adams, presumably Jesse Starcher, will be joining me to talk Teen Titans, or just Titans, from DC Universe on January 15th. We'll be, which one of your nerd comic book friends are coming on to talk about the new Teen Titans?
Oh, we got two of them, as a matter of fact. We got Al Sedano, who's interested in coming on.
Yes, and of the Thanos and Adam Warlock / fiction podcast that he does.
I just hope he understands that.
It's really cool. I've listened to it. So he essentially reads one love letter from Thanos.
Why are you disparaging this man's podcast?
And then
he would not do the same to you. I want you to understand that. He would never do the same to you.
And then he reads a letter back from Warlock to Thanos.
Your wrinkly chin.
Voice.
I wish I could run. That ain't right, Mark Radulich. Gosh. And
it's very romantic.
Chris Armstrong from the Unspoken Decade is going to come on, and I don't think he's involved in any slash fiction unless he's writing about basketball players. I guess that's the only thing I can think of.
Well, now I know what I'm saying the next time we bring him up.
Slam dunk.
Chris, what is it? Chris Adams? Chris Armstrong. Chris Armstrong hosts a slash fiction podcast featuring basketball players.
Slash fiction.
Featuring various basketball players in an orgy. Our first album we'll be reviewing on the Metal Hammer of Doom is Soil Work, whatever it's called.
That's what it's called now.
All right, and now on the 21st, we're doing something called Penance, the Redemption of Speedball. What the fuck?
Yeah, dude, we are getting ready. We're crossing over
the Rubicon.
We're involved in a blog / podcast project that's spanning
slash fiction.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing here. How did you know? How did you guess? All these podcasts and blogs that we're tied into are all slash fiction podcasts. And I thought to myself, I need to get on that action. How am I not part of that? How's the Rattlich and Broadcasting Network not knee deep into some speedball acts? So yes, we're doing this large podcast / blog project where the theme is redemption, and we are teaming with a lot of rather well-known podcasts and blogs that are taking on this subject. So what the deal is, we pick a book or a title, character, whatever. We focus on that character and their redemption. So Speedball went through some changes as of Civil War. Mark, do you know much about Speedball? Not the ones that your clientele come into after doing and getting caught with some, paraphernalia.
Speedball was basically responsible for the Superhero Registration Act.
Yes,
because him and the New Warriors had a TV show. They took on some supervillains, and one of them made the other one go explode and killed a bunch of people and nuked an entire city block. And that's when Tony Stark said, "That's it. I've had all I can stand, and I can't stand no more." And Captain America said, "I will not go along with this." And then Captain America died.
There's Civil War right there.
In a nutshell.
Do you know much about penance?
It is what you ask for from the priest or other religious figure. You ask for forgiveness, and you pay penance for telling people that a nice young man has a slash fiction podcast with Thanos and Warlock.
You must have to be in that confession for probably an hour.
I'd weekly Hail Marys.
Weekly. So, yeah, okay. Well, this is going to be interesting because pretty much after after the tragedy in Stamford, Connecticut occurred, Speedball felt that he needed to atone for his sins and becomes a character by the name of Penance. So we'll talk about that. Look forward to it. Trust me, no slash fiction involved.
On January 22nd, we will have the one and only entry from Damn You Hollywood for the month. We'll be reviewing Glass from the Unbreakable universe by M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. The Metal Hammer of Doom will be reviewing the new Papa Roach. Why a Papa Roach, you might be asking? Because fuck you, that's why. If it works for Vince McMahon, I don't see why I can't. Pat Mullen will be joining me on a TV party tonight for Fuller House Season 4. And then it's Runaways week, kind of. We'll be doing the complete Volume 2 of The Runaways. Who's going to be on that show?
It'll definitely be Ronnie, because that's one of his favorite teams to talk about. So as far as I know, it's just going to be us three.
And then we'll be discussing Season 2 of The Runaways. The entire season dropped on Hulu on December 21st. We'll get to it a little over a month later, January 29th. Metal Hammer of Doom reviews A Pale Horse Named Death, featuring a former member of Typo Negative. And then we close out January with The Crown Season 2 with Andrew Graham and his lovely wife.
All right, very good. Well, I'm going to throw the canned plugs in here. I'll remember this time, I promise. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This, again, go out and, after reading this comic or listening to our podcast, go out and enjoy the Bumblebee movie. Mark, did you enjoy it?
What I was awake for, sure.
All right, there you go. Good enough for me. Put that in a review. Go on to Rotten Tomatoes, read Mark Rattlich's half-awake reviews, and... I did.
Bumblebee, I wasn't bored enough to fall asleep the whole time.
Perfect. All right, for Mark Rattlich, I'm Jesse Starcher. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to give that Rattlich in Broadcasting Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts we have to offer. We are at home on Spreaker, but you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and recently we have hit the air on Spotify. Find your favorite podcast platform and type in RADULICH to subscribe for some great content. If you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word. And as always, we appreciate any feedback and look forward to entertaining you again soon.
How it feels to be the one who's left behind.
We'll talk about that.
No.
Negative. Shit.
It was Eric Bana.
Banya. Yep. Shit.
Did I say Banya?
I said Banya.
Eric Bana, sir.
Eric Bana. Oh,
Let's not fancy up his name. I'm ready to talk about this man, Wesley Dingus.
Is that a name?
Yeah.
Is it a man named Wesley Dingus, or it's Man Wesley? Man Wesley Dingus. What would you say the main theme or the main feel of this book is?
The Bumblebee wants to have sex with Diablo.
You know, robot sex. I don't know, but I'm sure that you would be the authority on that one.
Oh yeah, Bumblebee wanted to put his dick in her tailpipe. The old, you know what I mean, Governor. You know what I say? Is your wife grower? You know what I mean? Nevermore. Look, robots be fucking. That's all I'm saying.
Apparently they do.
I think Diablo has a date at midnight. She likes the dark. On her milk white neck, the devil's mark. Now it's all Hallows Eve. The moon is full. Will she trick or treat? I think she will.
Next up.
Yes, indeed.
You betcha. He was like a little tiny transformer, wasn't he?
The Fallen?
Okay.
No, you're thinking of like the racist fucking black robots.
Sure.
They spoke in like Ebonics. Is
that what it was?
Yeah. That's why they're racist.
I'm gonna just do a quick search on Transformer Ebonics. See what we come up with there. And
Rocket Queen, oh yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, there you go. Anything else left unsaid there, Mark?
Transformers be fucking.
Take one right up the tailpipe.
Yum, yum, bumblebee tuna. I like bumblebee tuna. Yum, yum, bumblebee tuna. Oh, something.
You okay? Stop. You can stop now. If I don't stop you, you'll continue. Just go ahead.
I'll play a bunch of tracks from albums that we were not able to get to, and Jesse will spank it with a thumb up his ass. Jesse Starch is going to fuck that chimpanzee, I'll tell you that right now.
Finally, on the network. You wanted it, ladies and gentlemen. It's the episode you've all been waiting for.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Cases and cases of confidence.
Staples can help give you the confidence that your business is ready for the year ahead with all the supplies you need.
Like paper. And right now, when you buy a 10-ream case of Staples multipurpose paper, you get one free.
So you can be confident you're ready for whatever business comes your way.
Buy one case of Staples multipurpose paper, get one free. Now at Staples, where there's a whole lot in store.
In store only, limit 10, valid through 1/5/19.